Hello, everybody. Something I don't usually do, but I thought I would do this time around is this. This was just announced, and I wanted to talk about it. And I wasn't sure whether I wanted to make like a, like a reaction vid to the actual like thing that would have taken like 40 plus minutes with how much I like to talk about things. The video itself was already like 20 minutes, so I didn't want to do that. And I didn't know if I wanted to just like write a long thing and just like share it with friends. It's like, nah, I want to make a YouTube video. So what I've done is I've got the list of features here. I've got the WoW head up over here, and we're gonna talk about it. I've got some images we're gonna flip through, and it'll be fine. So the first thing we're talking about here is the assaults. The assaults are basically the same thing as like the Alliance versus Horde assaults and the Legion invasions from Legion, except it's Nzoth and it's in old world zones, which is what I'm excited about. I love it every time that Blizzard decides to use the old world. I kind of didn't like how the Legion invasions, during the pre-patch, they were awesome because they were in the old world and they were all over the place. Like they were in Westfall and Karanos and in Ijara, and it was so cool to like just fly around the old world and do this stuff. And the crossroads, it was just so cool going to each one of them, and you could go to them regardless of Alliance or Horde. And then when Legion came out, they were just in the Legion zones, and it wasn't using the whole world. And then when BFA came out and the Alliance versus Horde ones came out, they just used the current zones, and I was like, what a wasted opportunity. With this, they're using old zones. They're using the Vale of Eternal Blossoms, and they're using Uldum. I kind of wish they used more than just two. I think it would have been nice because they're going for the whole thing where the old gods are attacking the Titan like locations in all the places. They're going to the vault of the Mogushan vaults, and they're going to the halls of origination in Uldum. But what about Ulduar? What about the place, I can't remember what it's called, in the Badlands? What about, there's a couple more Titan places in the world than just these two. Why not go to all of them? I don't really know. But I'm still happy they're using the old world. I'm still happy they're using Uldum and Vale of Eternal Blossoms at all. And it's not just, this is just happening in Agitar on top of everything else, and happening in Megagon on top of everything else. Or it's, it's happening in Zuldazar only. I don't like that. And so I'm glad they're doing this. I'm glad they're doing this with the old world. And I hope it encourages them to do more, because I'm super into it. Also, this is just a minor footnote. They're fixing the Vale of Eternal Blossoms. They're making it no longer blighted with negative shot energy from the ending of Mists of Pandaria, which honestly, that's always bothered me because I wasn't playing when that happened. I wasn't playing pre it being blighted, so when I got there it was already blighted, and I just had to see through cinematics and through like old gameplay footage that it didn't used to look that way, and it really bothered me that it just they decided to just rip that whole storyline out. They just removed it. It's done. You can't do it anymore. It's like the War of Thorns and all of this removed content. I hate removed content, especially when it's important story content. Like in WoD, they took out the ring quest chain. I'm fine with you taking out the ring quest chain as long as you don't change the quests where you're still, it's still important to the story. But there was a whole dungeon surrounding the betrayal of a certain character that you just miss now. It just, no one gives a crap about that dungeon or those characters, and now they just speak gibberish because players who are going through it now, or maybe players who just weren't paying attention the first time, or players that have been playing for a long time and they go back to do some nostalgia, and this character is talking about all this lore and stuff that I don't know what they're talking about because they took it out of the game. Why? I hate that so much. And I also don't like the passage of time going on without us. That was something that happened during during Legion in the Death Knight campaign. You go to you go to Hillsbrad, Narathi, and you go to oh god, not Stratholme. What's it called? Strongbad or something like that. Not Strongbad, but something like that. I can't remember the name now. But you go to that old, like, major city, the old human capital that, is just a ruin now, and Strom, you go there, and there's people living there now, and like there's the undead prince who's now like ruling an independent nation of Forsaken. And I'm like, why didn't I get to experience any of this? Just one day it's ogres and assassins, and then the next day it's 7 years later. That's so irritating to me. We didn't get to participate in any of that, even if we go there, just to, like, enjoy the area. Just, like, go exploring the world, see if there's any changes. No, there are no changes. The world does not progress except without your consent, without you being part of it. And that's boring and stupid, and I hate it. I'm not suggesting that they should, just randomly ghost update in weird zones, for no reason. But I am saying that, if you're gonna have things happen, maybe have them happen organically. And I know that's a little unfair, because it's like, hey, there's this one zone that we haven't looked at for 10 years. Maybe we should do something in it. Does that mean we're gonna have to spend the next 6 months slowly getting us up to speed with that place again? No. I'm not suggesting you do that. What I am suggesting is maybe you make use of the world. And, it'd be a World of Warcraft instead of, these tiny islands that we're focusing all of our attention on. Battle for Azeroth is the biggest blaring advertisement against that. It would have been so much better if, much like in the promotional material, we had wars going on in Kalimdor and Eastern Kingdoms, with the Horde just rampaging all through Kalimdor and conquering the whole of it, and the Alliance doing the same thing with Eastern Kingdoms, and it being this big old world war instead of the battle for these two tiny islands in the middle of nowhere. I went off on one, I'm sorry. It just really bothers me, but I'm really, really happy that we're getting this restored, at least. And it makes me wonder if maybe there's going to be some small updates and stuff inside it that we can explore, now that it's been brought up to the present day. Maybe there's stuff going on. We know there's stuff going on when it's under control, and it changes depending on when it's under assault or not. So, like, this is what it looks like when it's under assault, and then this is what it looks like when it's not under assault. And I wonder if this is going to have stuff to do in it as well as this. I think that would be cool. You know, have a reason to be there even when it's not under attack. I think that would be neat. Anyway, moving on to the next thing, which is horrific visions, which is this. You do the assaults in order to gain access to the horrific visions, which is a 1 to 5 player. It's solo, or you can bring some friends, which I really like. I actually think they should have done that with the... it's what I thought the island expeditions were. I actually thought island expeditions were going to be much more exploration based than a resource gathering mini game. I thought that we were going to be going to these, you know, obscure lore islands, and it would be, I mean, it was still going to be like a mini game, but it was going to be more like a mapping mini game where, like, we go to this island and we have to explore the area, sort of like like when you go to a new zone and you run around it to explore the map and stuff, and you find new locations, and each location was going to have like maybe a quest or something to go along with that location and give you some lore and stuff. Maybe we have like a small town with some locals, and the locals have something to do and some unique gear and stuff for that island. And then once you've fully explored the island, maybe it gets attacked by the opposition, maybe it gets attacked by some outside force, sort of similar to what happens in islands, and then you defend it, and then you gain access to that island. Or maybe that's just the whole mini game, and it's, you know, you go to a random island every time, and they just procedurally add more islands to the pool of things that you explore. That was what I was thinking it was going to be. And that it would be 1 to 5 players, and that the more players you bring in, you know, maybe the bigger the island, or maybe it just stays the same and you just like share rewards or stuff, sort of similar to how you actually do with islands. But it said they just went the whole resource management route, and it was a huge mess when it launched, and whatever. But because that's what I thought they were going to do with islands, and that I was super excited for that, I am therefore super excited for this to be soloable. Or I can bring some friends, you know. They cite the Mage Tower as being the inspiration for this. I would like to suggest instead that it be less like the Mage Tower and more like the Deaths of Chromie. I really liked the Deaths of Chromie a lot more than I liked the Mage Tower, actually. I know a lot of people really liked the Mage Tower. They liked the difficulty. They liked the super reward at the end with the transmog. They liked how difficult it was. They liked how many times you had to try to do it. They liked earning their way through. They liked figuring it out, or waiting until somebody else figured it out and then, you know, copying the meta build and then doing it. I personally preferred the Deaths of Chromie, where it was more like a roguelike, where you couldn't get very far at first, and the more times you did it, you know, you'd get a little bit more, a little bit better. Chromie would get experience, she'd level up, she'd have her own unique skill tree, and you'd find your path of doing things, and every time you did it, you'd get a little bit better at doing it, you'd get a little bit stronger at doing it, you'd get unique abilities to help you complete each section and doing things, and once you've beaten a certain part, you can get items, or you can like know where the end spot is, so you can sort of very quickly finish that area up and move on to the next one. I really enjoyed that. I thought that was a lot of fun, and that kept me going for weeks after I had already completed everything, because on top of all of that, there were hidden in some pets and stuff that I didn't get right away, and it was just a ton of fun. It's still fun even now, that I really wish I want to go back and do more of it, because it was a lot of fun. And the way that Ian described this was very similar to that, where, you know, the first time you go in, you're not going to be able to do it, but you're going with Rathian, and he'll power up a legendary cloak to give you defenses and gives you buffs and stuff to help you go through it more and more. And so I'm hoping it's like that instead of like the Mage Tower, but I can bring friends in if they want to go in with me, or I can just do it solo if they're not into it. I think that would be a ton of fun. What I also think is a ton of fun is the fact that it's Stormwind and Orgrimmar. It's just an evil version of Stormwind and Orgrimmar, which is doubly cool, not only because we get to, like, basically go through a solo dungeon of our capital as being twisted by evil, which is already super duper cool, and I'm really into it. It also sort of plays on what people were theorizing. A lot of people had theories that, you know, the final raid was going to be Stormwind, and it was going to be twisted by the Void, or it was going to be the Siege of Orgrimmar 2.0, and this is super subverting that, but still making use of that idea, which is very clever, and I really, really like it. I actually think it would have been a little cheeky fun on Blizzard's part if they had released these maps that you guys were staring at for a long time without any context to them, just to see what would happen. I mean, of course, you run the risk of the hype overshadowing the truth. Like, oh, it's confirmed. We're gonna get this raid where we go to not only Orgrimmar but to Stormwind, and it's Siege of Orgrimmar 2.0, except it's also the Siege of Stormwind, and it's gonna be all voidy. And if people liked that, then you're screwed, because it's not what you're doing. But honestly, I'm super down for this, and this is what I can only assume is the power-ups for the cape that Rathian is going to give you. I kind of hope, and I know this is asking a lot, and it's probably not going to happen because every time I ask anything of Blizzard, it doesn't seem to work out the way that I really kind of hope it for. But what I think would be cool is if, like, you have this, and we can already see it's got a currency attributed to it, and it's gonna probably be like leveling up the war thing, and getting like in your Legion home and stuff, getting those upgrades. It's gonna be like that, only with your shoulders, or with your cape. What I kind of hope to be on top of that would be that Rathian would get experience and have his own skill tree, very similar to Chromie, on top of that. So you'd have the currency, but then you'd also have the experience. So you'd still be getting something for doing the runs and maybe not doing quite as well. Every little bit counts. Because with this, it looks like this is what you'd be spending on this, and if you don't have enough currency, or it's going to be time-gated, which is what it always is, so every time you unlock one of those things, you have to wait 7, 12 hours, 3 or 4 days in order for it to frickin' finish, and I hate it. But, you know, if we had maybe Rathian getting experience, they've already said there's going to be, like, some rewards in there as well, some drops and stuff. You know, some reason to still be doing it while we're waiting for this time gate bull crap, then that would be nice. But I'm super into it, and I really like the idea of going through an evil Stormwind and an evil Orgrimmar. I think that would be great. I wanted to look more closely at this. This is just an image that flashed up. There are a couple like it that just sort of appeared, and they aren't attributed to anything that's going on, you know. And so people are going, "Oh, this is obviously the final raid. This is Nyalotha, the final raid." And so we've got a Shara there, chained up in the center. Is she going to be a boss? Are we going to be freeing her and she's going to become an ally? People were saying that they could see something else in this image. Some people were saying maybe there's Xalatath in the back. Some people were saying that there was that these zombies are actually like maybe Scourge trying to like liberate her and like make use of her for the Lich King or something, or maybe it's Sylvanas messing around with Scourge trying to kidnap her. Don't know. I don't know. It's interesting to look at, though. It's very interesting to theorize. Maybe we're saving Ashara from the from death, and it's like this weird, like we have to choose: are we an ally of the old gods, or are we an ally of death? And who are we helping? And like this is like a pivotal moment, and depending on what we do, maybe it changes the layout of the dungeon, or maybe it changes stuff that happens in the dungeon. I don't think that's gonna happen. I straight up am pretty sure it's just gonna be, oh look, there's Ashara. We need to kill her because she's a mini boss. Moving on. But it's fun to think about. It's fun to imagine that maybe we are given the opportunity to choose sides here. It's like, do we go full Sylvanas loyalist and bring Ashara to the Scourge? Do we go full normal faction loyalist and we just kill Ashara and kill the Scourge things? Or do we go old god loyalist with our eye and we save Ashara and move on? And that is the culmination of the 3 lines going on into this final raid, and depending on what we do, maybe the pre-launch to next expansion is different, and then it becomes sort of a like a Shatrath Aldor Scryer situation where we're fighting amongst each other. That would be cool, don't get me wrong, I'd be totally into it. But the chances of that happening are basically 0, so I don't even know why I even bothered to bring it up. More pictures of what could be Nyalotha. That looks cool. That's a cool, weird, old god Twilight, not really dragon thing. It's very neat. I like it. Oh yeah, this a surprise to no one. The Volpera are being are the allied races that are coming out in 8.3. I'm assuming they're done now, and they're ready to go. They're gonna be for the Horde. I'm not super sure about that being the best idea, but I mean, whatever. And then the Alliance is getting the Mechanomes, surprising nobody again. I personally think it would have been much cooler if instead of the Mechanomes, the Alliance got the Sethrak, the snake people, and then this Mechanome stuff just became like transmog options. Like you could go to Mechagon and no matter what race you were, not just gnomes, but any race could get mecha attachments, because there was that NPC. Remember that NPC in Mechagon who was like, "Oh, would you like to be mechanized slightly? I'd love to talk to you in depth about how we could properly mechanize you for optimum efficiency." And you could just go to her and it would be like a unique transmog thing where if you've gotten exalted with Mechagon, you could have access to their unique barbershop where they'd remove an arm or a leg or an eye or something and give you mecha parts. I think that would have been cooler, but that is asking a whole lot, so I guess I understand why it's not happening. I still kind of want the Sethrak, though. I like the snake people. I think they're cool. I don't think that... I think they could use a lot more fleshing out in the game. I mean, we basically just said hi-bye to the Volpera and the Sethrak. We didn't really interact with them hardly at all. We interacted with the Mechanomes way more. It makes more sense for them to be an allied race because of how much we interact with them as compared to the Volpera and the Sethrak. But I still really like the Volpera and the Sethrak. I like them. I think they're cool. And the Mechanomes, while cool, I think they're better off just being a transmog. This is just my personal feelings on the matter. Oh yeah, the heritage armor for goblins and Worgen. The goblin heritage armor is pathetic. in my personal opinion. It's so whatever. Like, it basically just amounts to being a Warcraft 3 reference. Because they look like the Goblin hero model for Warcraft 3 with those two big rockets on their shoulders, except we've got tiny rockets. And we've got the goggles. And that's it. Really. Considering how much goblins have grown since then, I kind of wanted more out of them. Ian talked about getting, like, top hats for the Worgen. And yeah, the Worgens have top hats. Goblins should have top hats too. We should have ourselves a nice Galliwick suit. A suit with a big top hat, like the Stoke top hats that go up forever. And like you wear the top hat and your hat makes you as tall as like an orc. It doesn't make your model as tall as an orc, but like the hat goes up to the height of an orc. That would have been great. I would have loved that. This is boring. I get the Warcraft 3 nostalgia, especially with Warcraft 3 Reforged right around the corner, and I'm super excited for Reforged. I hope it's good. I hope they don't do any bullshit with it. Warcraft 3 was how I got into World of Warcraft. I super want it to be good. I'm looking forward to it. But this is not... like, if the rockets were big, maybe. But this just seems boring to me. I mean, you look at the Worgens. The Worgens have at least some effort thrown in. They got the gold inlay. It looks like the Night Elves moon suit during the Lunar Festival, but with gold inlay, and it's got the top hats, which are cool, and it looks nice, and it sort of reminds me of like the Admiral's outfit almost, or like a very shiny version of Gen's old outfit from before, and you know, it's just thematically pleasing and it's good. I like it. This is less so. It also doesn't help that in the background is Kazan, which is somewhere we can't even go except in a dungeon. It's not a place you can actually traverse anymore, which, you know, is unfortunate. I mean, the same with them in Gilneas, but at least you could still technically fly over. At least Gilneas has like a battleground. It's got two battlegrounds, actually, I think. I'm not totally 100% on that. I think it might just have the one. But it's got the battleground. It's got, you know, you can still fly around in it even though it's all underwater. Anyway, moving on. The last thing was the auction house overhaul. I don't really have too much to say about this just because I'm not an auction house junkie. I don't really get it. I've never been good at playing the auction house ever. This seems like a neat idea. I like the idea of them fixing up the auction house and making it kind of better. I am just gonna have to reserve judgment because I don't know. I like the idea of, hold on, let's see if I can find it. There's this thing. You can't really see it because of me. Hold on, let me just bap. So you look there, and it says in tiny itty bitty print that you can barely read. There's no need to undercut. Auctions posted later set the same prices and they're sold first. Oh, auctions posted later at the same price are sold first. And then it has this as an example where it's like you see she's got things at priced different prices. She's got the greater flasks here at $565 and then $581, $588 here. And then you go over and it's got them listed here, and then her things are checkmarked here. And so I'm guessing what that means is that if you undercut yourself, it's going to just, you know, match your own price with your old stuff. And then if anyone tries to buy it, because, hold on, they changed how you buy things as well, which is over here. Here they show, like, you just type in, oh, I want some storm silver, and then it just has the different prices. It doesn't even say who's selling them, or for how long they're selling them, or what. It's just, you got that, and then you can bulk buy at that price for however much is at that price. And it just shows the lowest price on top. I'm guessing what they mean by this sentence is that if you undercut yourself, it'll just lump all of your stuff to the lowest amount to make sure it all gets sold. And you'll still get the money back. And Ian says that you can purchase, because it lumps all the prices together, it doesn't really segregate who's selling what. So you can buy exactly as much as you need, and if someone posted a different amount than that, they'll like, say they posted 5 gold, or they posted 5 gold. What am I even talking about? Let's say they posted 5 storm silver as one lump thing, and then someone bought 2, and then the thing runs out. You get the money for the 2, and then you get 3 back. Instead of someone didn't want to buy your batch of 5, and you just get the 5 back and no money. I like the idea. I have no idea how that's going to work out, because like I said, I'm not good at the auction house. I don't even really fully understand his explanation. I'm making a couple guesses here. I can't wait to see how that works out. And yeah, that's the end there. There's a couple other smaller things, like, you know, they're talking about switching out Titan Forging with, like, Old God Corrupting, maybe, for some of their new stuff. Like, maybe Nyalotha and the assaults and the horrific visions will tamper around with how Titan Forging works in order to make it better. Maybe they'll do like they did with Benthic gear and make it have a token system, or maybe they'll just have it, or maybe they'll have it do closer to like that one raid where it makes it have better stats, but then also have a negative effect attributed to it, so that you have to, you know, play around a negative effect if you want to use the better item. Either of those options would be good. Honestly, Titan Forging was a stupid idea, and everybody hates it, and so any idea is more welcome than just keeping it as it is. That's really all I have to say about that. The guy said that the PTR is practically already up, so if you have access to the PTR, go have fun with it. I don't tend to play around with the PTR too much, just because I don't like to be spoiled on the gameplay, because after you're done with, you know, the cinematics, the gameplay is all you've got left, and so, you know, you don't want to be too spoiled on that with the PTR stuff before actually playing. But it is important that people actually play the PTR and figure out what's wrong with this stuff before it goes live, so that it's not garbage, like, you know, what happened with BFA's launch. I hope they learned their lesson from that. So that's 8.3, The Visions of Nzoth. I'm excited for it. A lot of these are good ideas. While it does leave a little bit to be desired, I'm really hopeful for the future. I think this will be a lot of fun. So yeah, I'll see you guys later. Goodbye, everybody.